Your mother had arthritis real bad and didn't really know if we were able to have a child, and then once we confirmed that we were, I was very excited. That's something I've always wanted.
Made the decision that obviously upon after Chelsea was born that I would have my tubes tied, and was fine with that. I had this perfect child, and it was more than what I could have ever asked for.
I would have liked to have a couple more, at least one more. I didn't think it was right to have just one, but I always wanted more kids, but that didn't work out.
Going back and forth on dozens of names. I was in the grocery store looking in the checkout line. They had a book of names, and I saw the name Chelsea in there, and it was the one name we could agree on. And obviously, Arlene, that was never an option. We just always liked that as a middle name.
I was very excited when I found out that my daughter was expecting, and I found out it was a girl, and that made me very happy. And we bonded immediately. We just had a great bond.
It is a very small, rural town. There's nothing there, whether that is different races, cultures, sexuality. I never grew up knowing really anything outside of Pekin and those norms. Bunch of friends growing up. As a kid, we always found stuff to do, whether that was bike riding, going fishing at grandma's. We were always outside playing basketball, right?
Then you were always coming and playing hockey and like you were, I don't want to use, I don't even know if it's culturally appropriate to say tomboy anymore or whatever, but you just, you seem much more interested in just everything else.
Chelsea had taken piano lessons. I sat next to this squealy little girl, and she's oh my God, you're totally not supposed to be doing this in the middle of the recital. Because if you speak or look like you're speaking, you're gonna get don't do it. And she's funny. She's trying to make me giggle this entire time, and I'm like, no. Hey, guess what? What? Stop talking to me, but I'm thinking she's so funny. Chicken butt. Chicken farted. And I could not contain myself anymore. I love that story.
Our family was close. We were always getting together for events, holidays. We never sat around and talked or got to know one another on a level deeper than surface level. It wasn't concrete that I knew I'm supposed to be a boy, but I always felt that nothing fit right. I know I didn't want to present as a girl or do the stereotypical girly things, but I didn't know how to voice that or communicate that on a level other than in my own head of something just doesn't fit, something's not right here. There was a kid, we were in the same small elementary school, and his name was Chase, and there was something about the name where it was like, that's my name. I didn't know how to voice that at 6 years old, that I am a boy, this is my name, Chelsea is not my name, but there was just something about it. And they're all of these puzzle pieces. You have your giant puzzle, you've only got so many puzzle pieces, but then the more pieces come together, and that piece just kind of kept getting bigger and putting more pieces together.
We classified her as a tomboy. One of the main things was her mother would buy her a brand new outfit to wear to church, particularly at Christmas or Easter. And she accommodated, but then as soon as we got home for dinner or whatever, she changed. And I thought, okay, we bought this expensive dress and changed, but that was okay. We just accepted it.
It's part of being a parent is you have to learn what you want for your child and what your child wants for themselves are two different things. You always have a vision of what to expect, and it's like I had this incredibly cute little girl who looked really cute in dresses with her hair, all done and everything like that. I learned at an early age that very strong will, that there were times that I would fight the fight and other times that it was figured out. There was always something that I never liked because it wasn't what I wanted, but just selfishly speaking.
Matter. If Chelsea wants to wear pants or a baseball hat or a ponytail, doesn't want to straighten her hair, what does it matter? Matter to her. And I guess nobody really understood maybe at that time why it did matter to you more than just being, that teenager who didn't want to get along with your mom. It just really was something you did not want to do, that did not feel natural.
I can look back and see a lot of the things now that I didn't see then. The basketball shorts, just not the girlish, princessy type stuff that a lot of girls have.
I opened my locker. There weren't many people around. I just remember this very vivid thought and feeling of that I wanted to die. That was the first time that thought occurred to me. I didn't know anybody who had ended their life. That feeling just kind of stuck around. There was no part of me that was ever going to tell my parents, a friend, hey, this is what I thought of. Because of that, I just kept everything inside.
You've always been depressed. And I can certainly look back now. And I mean, long before now, I could always look back and you were never happy. You had happy moments, but you were never happy.
You didn't seem like a happy kid. It was just, and I don't know if that was any of my doing. You just seemed angry all the time, especially over here, and I didn't like that. I wanted you to be happy. And
I think it was more frustrating for me because I didn't know why I was feeling this. I didn't know why it was controlling everything I had, every action, and I wasn't able to function very well and cope with anything. But that image I couldn't identify at that time. I just knew I didn't fit, and I knew I wanted to be a boy, but there were no words to be able to express that to anyone.
You become frustrated, and it's like, what does she have to be unhappy about? I mean, she has friends, she's got a roof over her head, pretty much gets what she wants. Couldn't put your finger on it. Couldn't say, this happened, so this is why this person is like this. There wasn't that. It was just your existence, and it was hard.
I started thinking that I was okay and didn't address anything. This is the role I need to play. I need to, whatever it is inside that I am feeling, gender-wise, depression-wise, I need to put that away somewhere and I need to be happy. I need to be me and just be whoever I could be for others, not myself. Jamie quickly became my best friend. We did everything together. We were pretty good kids. We didn't go out and get in trouble. There was also only so much you could do in Pekin.
Chelsea and I met in high school freshman year. We had a couple of friends together and started hanging out in the mornings. I think softball was a big aspect into our lives where we started spending a lot of time together, going to each other's house and spending the night. And then we were kind of inseparable all throughout the 4 years.
I definitely adapted a lot more to presenting girly. I wore my hair down a little bit more. I dressed a little bit more feminine than jeans and a hoodie. That still was a very regular outfit.
She was very tomboy, you would say. Didn't really do a whole lot of girly things, but tried to do the girly things. She was always felt a little lost, felt a little just insecure.
High school era was interesting for you. Allison, how do I be a girl? Like, how do I do girly things? Like, how do I look girly? I'm like, I didn't know what that meant, but I was like, at the time, I get it now, but like.
And I remember remember doing your hair and getting you ready for homecoming, but you never felt, even when you looked great and you were done and you had a dress and makeup and hair, you never seemed to me to feel confident in those things. You always felt uncomfortable.
High school age was definitely when Mom and I were not on the same level. Anytime we had an argument, we never actually talked it out. I never learned how to communicate. Arguing with Mom, it was who could be louder. We would go to our separate corners, and then time would pass, and we never talked it out. It was, let's just watch TV and move forward. Where Jamie and then some other friends were very much into boys, and when they were dating, it was like, oh, well, I don't want to be left out, so I'm going to start dating. Just remember sitting and talking with so many friends. They would, oh my God, this guy is so cute. And they would talk about this mysterious butterfly feeling in their stomach. And it was like, what? Like, sure it's not gas? Like, I did not understand what that was. They were using the word love and all of these connections, and they were becoming intimate. I didn't date many people in high school, but I dated people in high school. They never lasted long.
Considering, the other girls on the street, you never really seemed very interested in like dating much. And then you dated a mutual friend of ours for a while. That didn't seem like that was your typical person that you would date.
And Chelsea would just stick to it and say, nope, we're done. And it was just that with every guy. But then she'd also go back to him and try to make the relationship work. So in that aspect, that is a little bit off, but we were also in high school, so it's kind of more of like an experimenting game. But I didn't notice anything real off.
So you dating boys was an interesting time as well. You struggled a lot. I like him. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're dating. I don't know.
I've always suspected of sexuality, and I think at various times throughout your life, I had even point blank said to you, are you gay? But then you would have boyfriends. Very obvious is these guys would be your best friends. So you would have a great time with them until they wanted to take it where obviously a normal relationship would go, at least in a normal progression. And that's when you would really back off. And I don't really, he's not the one. I mean, so I always suspected that.
It was definitely in high school. I strongly remember, oh my God, I like girls. I had not many, but I had a couple of like really good crushes on a couple of my friends. Maybe I could tell them. Maybe that wouldn't be weird. Maybe they feel the same way, and I would be able to voice that. And there weren't many people out in high school in Pekin. Anytime that thought was like, ooh, I should test the water. I should tell them. That same fear with my family kept up. And what if they don't accept that? What if this is weird and I lose friends? I lose everything. Tux, I'm going to wear a dress. I definitely wanted to look damn good, and I wanted to be able to stand out, and I wanted to be noticed in a good way and not for being different. I think I just wanted people to see me.
Probably the most shocking part of high school was when you wanted to dress as a princess for prom. And really appreciate it.
Mom and Grandma and I went to all these different stores to try on prom dresses. There was a mannequin in the front of the store, and it had this big, froofy, giant green prom dress. It had stones all up it. It looked very elegant.
I remember sitting there in that bridal shop looking at you. You were beautiful. And I cried. I believe I cried.
And just the look on my mother's face of like awe, of just being so happy and content. And I think that was like the first time in my life there was no argument on what I was going to wear. It was, here you go, you have won. Let me give this to you. She just looked at me and said, why do I feel like this is the last time I'm ever going to see you in a dress? And in my mind, I was speechless because there was that tiny part of me that was like, does she know? Is she putting these pieces together while I'm putting these pieces together? But how could she know? Because I've never said it. I've never expressed that to anybody. How does she know? No, that's not true. Like, I've got all these occasions to wear a dress in the future. Like, this isn't the last time. But in my head, it was, please let this be the last time. If she was so in awe and happy about me wearing a prom dress, how was I ever going to tell her that I'm not going to wear a wedding dress?
So I may have never got to see you in a wedding dress, but I got to see you look like a princess.
At that time, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to express anything, whether that was that I liked girls or my gender, because no one did that in Pekin. Because I didn't know that it was a thing or that there was a term attached. How was I ever going to be able to express that to anybody? Depression definitely took over, but I just buried it and kept playing that role that everyone wanted me to be. I didn't want to go to college. School wasn't my thing, and I just had this dream that me and another friend were going to go out to Chicago and go to this school, and we were just going to make it in the comedy world and do stand-up. That was what I felt like I wanted to do, and I could utilize all of the things that I was feeling and turn it all into a joke. That's what I had been doing my whole life, of anytime I was upset or sad or depressed, just buried it all deep inside and turned everything into a joke. I was voted most likely to be a comedian in high school, and it was just, that's what I'm going to do to be noticed and present myself. And I told my mom that plan, and she said she will support me in anything I wanted to do as long as I got a college degree. My mom told me that I really wasn't that funny and that I really should pick a different dream in life.
We saw each other at ICC all the time. Then we became really close. Like, it was actually sort of by accident. You're like, hey, I see you all the time at ICC. Like, we should ride together. We should do this. And then you're like, we should go shopping for clothes. And clothes shopping for you? Let's go to American Eagle and try like temporary jeans on. I don't like how this fits. I don't know. Does this make me look fat? Like, I want this to fit higher. I mean, I don't know. Your legs are so long. Mine are not. How does that fit you like that?
Jamie and I were going to go off on this adventure and experience life outside of Pekin together. That was the first time I would have ever moved away from home. That was a big adjustment. I was very excited to go. I was a lot more comfortable knowing that Jamie was going to be right by my side. A month or two right before it was time to move out, Jamie told me she was not coming. At that point, where I had been looking forward and counting down the days to get out of Pekin, I didn't want that time to come. I didn't want to do this by myself. There's this whole world outside of Pekin, and I didn't know that I was going to be able to do it on my own. As it got closer, I started thinking, I'm not going to be near my parents or my family. No one's supervising me. And this was my real chance to really test out my sexuality and gender. And it became all these positive things that I could experience and figure out and finally work on trying to be happy and find out who it is I am and what I'm meant to be and do with myself moving forward in life.
Took you to school. I was a lot of different feelings. I was jealous because I never had that experience. I was excited for you. I was scared for you. Sad for myself. I mean, we had lived together for 19 years, walking around, seeing the dorm, and very exciting that you were going to get this new chapter of your life. Get beyond ICC, just so proud of you that you made it through that.
And I could see this fear in Chelsea's face. When we were leaving, I was trying not to cry, and so was Chelsea.
And then when it came time to leave, then it's trying so hard to be strong for you, and you became so emotional. And then sitting next to your grandmother, who was an emotional wreck.
We pulled away, and I was looking back, and she left a Coke in the back seat. And I said, "Oh, turn around. And Russ said, "No, she has to grow up."
Just wanted to take you home at that moment. And I felt like I was deserting you, abandoning you at that moment. But I just knew if you just waited, it just would take a little time, that it was going to be just one of the coolest experiences of your life. Just do something real.
The moment I went up to my room, everything sunk in that I am on my own. I didn't know anybody. I didn't really know the campus. Just got this giant feeling of anxiety and lack of confidence that I didn't think I could do it. Finished moving stuff around my room, putting things in place because I didn't have a soda because I left it in Mom's car. I ventured off to the Union to get a soda. I'm in this big giant room getting my soda, and my dad calls. Answered the call. Dad's asking how everything is going. And there I am, just breaking down. There was no hiding that he could tell I was crying. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it. During that first day, my aunt and uncle reached out multiple times. "Hey, how's it going? Show me your dorm room." Just try and show that they cared. And it meant a lot.
When you went away to school, it was the same sensation as one of our kids, like our two sons, when they went away to school. We just naturally wanted to participate in that vicariously. And what are you doing today? What are you doing now? What did you have for lunch? That kind of stuff. So I don't know, I think maybe that just naturally spilled over to you two, especially since you live next door and we were so close and you were going to be absent now.
But I think more was just reaching out to "Hey, we're thinking about you. How you doing?" And I never went away to college, but I think anybody that goes away to college, even if it's something you really want to do, that's an adjustment time, And our family is pretty close, so I'm sure you're feeling good and positive.
So because I did 2 years community college, then transferred to a 4-year school, everybody had to do this transfer orientation stuff. And the first night we had a required floor meeting, and then your entire hall had to meet for a safety awareness type training. I was walking down the hall and this girl popped out and asked, "Where's everybody going?" So I told her what the program was about, and she asked if she could come with me. We sat together at the training, we went, got dinner, and then we went back to her room, and while she was unpacking, we just kind of chatted. It was just simple conversation, and it felt very natural. She seemed fun, she was making me laugh. I felt like I made a friend. All of that anxiety and lack of confidence that I couldn't do this, I wasn't gonna fit in, I needed to go home, all went away. After meeting Kathy, everything just seemed to get a little less intense. So I was standing downstairs by myself waiting for us all to go to this orientation together. This girl walks up to me and says, "Hey, I like your shoes." And I was like, "I like your shoes." Just started making small talk.
We were lining up for orientation, and the first thing I noticed were her shoes. She had a infinity tattoo on her bicep, and I was like, That chick is definitely gay.
I knew she was gay. Spent training together. We broke for lunch, and she said, "Hey, we should exchange numbers so if we get split up, we know how to like get back together later on." I was like, "Shit, okay," try to play it all cool. I'm sure I looked like an awkward idiot. And we exchanged numbers, did the rest of the training.
And ever since that day, her and I we clicked. The same major, same hall, same type of values. It was good. It was a good friendship from the start, and it just kind of blossomed later on to a good relationship.
I was in my room, and I got a text from Melissa. We were just chatting, making small talk. As the conversation went on, she started to ask a little bit more in-depth questions.
I remember laying in bed, Chelsea and I were texting, oh, so, where are you from? And,
she had asked me to talk about something more personal and share something with her, and me being funny in my own head said, "Well, I gotta pee if that's personal enough." She's like, "No, not exactly." And then she's like, "Well, what if I shared personal stuff first?" I said, "Okay, let's see how this goes." She told me that she liked girls and that no one knew she wasn't out. And for the first time, I've experienced what all of my friends had been talking about in high school, of this mysterious butterfly feeling. And it was just overwhelming of, oh my God, you're like me. You like girls as well. If I thought I was nervous hanging out with her at orientation, I had no idea what I was about to get myself into.
I kind of learned a little bit about her past and how she kind of came to terms, but it wasn't really in full effect until maybe college.
So it was a couple days later, Alyssa and I were hanging out in my dorm room, about 4 or 5 hours into just sitting and talking. She kissed me. Everything just made sense. It was like I was having all of these memories and things that friends have told me over the years about describing how they were feeling with their boyfriends had ever in my life made as much sense as this moment did, where I knew I liked girls for all these years and I was finally able to act upon it, to be normal like everyone else and experience your first kiss, your first love, all of that. I was finally able to experience this part of my life that I've been neglecting for 20 years.
It's to be able to walk hand in hand with Chelsea, around campus and not feel like, oh my God, this is weird, or it felt natural to be in our own element. Being in that relationship together just really helped us learn about ourselves as individuals.
For the longest time, I thought I was broken and that I just wasn't meant to find someone, or I was meant to be alone. After dating Alyssa, it was that picture that was so blurry for years had never been as clear as it was. I knew that I was never going to be happy with a guy. That wasn't me. I finally figured something out. I'm enjoying this relationship. I'm on the road to being happy. I don't want to hide it anymore. I spent too long being unhappy and miserable and hiding myself from the world that I want to tell people. Alyssa and I had that conversation of how we were going to do this. Things were starting to progress with Alyssa, and I needed to tell somebody. I needed to get that first one done. I needed to express that to somebody other than Alyssa. I had told Jamie I was seeing somebody, and of course Jamie was like, "Oh, well, tell me about him." And I paused, and I was like, "Yeah, his name's Alex," and just the first name that was semi-close to Alyssa that I would remember.
We texted all the time about Alex. And so then it came up that Alex was this big secret. And I remember on Skype, because we'd always Skype, we said, "So Alex is actually Alyssa, and I'm a lesbian." And I go, "Congratulations," because I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, I think you were actually the first gay person that I've ever met, which I loved. I mean, it was just different for me because I never had that kind of aspect growing up in a small city. So Alyssa pops in and I was like, oh, hi. And it just came into this big old, it didn't really seem weird at all. It was just more of like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, all the dating back in high school where nothing made sense to you or you couldn't connect with a guy finally made sense. That Alyssa and that you were actually a lesbian that came out. So, yeah, I was actually happy to hear that.
All that pressure decreased, and I felt so much relief that, okay, my best friend's on board. I've got somebody in my corner. I've got somebody who can support me. There were so many other people that I needed to tell, but I knew for a fact I had one person on my side, and I needed that.
Seemed more vocal and happy with it. It never seemed weird with our relationship, even when the trio of us would hang out or have sleepovers. Like, it was normal. That's how it was supposed to be.
So a couple weeks after I went away, it was fall break, and I went home. My friend Allison, who I was really good friends with all through ICC and then high school, that I needed to tell her. She was one of those people that I needed to tell before I even thought about talking to my family.
I made a Corey's. Like, we always went out to Corey's. Like, every time you were home, I've actually told this story to a lot of people. Like, how did she come out to you? Or like, how did this, like, it was like a very big moment in my life. Like, I remember sitting across the table and your cell phone was faced away from me, and like the screen came up. Phone like lit up with a notification of something, and I like saw this phone screen, the lock screen, and it was of Chelsea and another girl. And I was like, oh, like, and the conversation went real quiet. And she pulled her phone back towards her and clicked the phone screen like off. So it was like a black screen. I have something to tell you, Allison. And I'm like, I had no idea what was coming. The way that your tone of voice was very, like, it alarmed me a little bit. I have something to tell you. Okay, so tell me. And you literally were like, I'm gay. Oh. I was like, it's like trying to process this, and I was like, I didn't have gay friends. I mean, like, I knew like guys were gay in high school, some of them, but like, I was like, oh, is that? And then like puzzle piece put together. I was like, is that your girlfriend? And you're like, yeah. And you like smiled as you said yes. And I was like, tell me about her. Like, are you happy? And you're like, I am so happy, Allison, and I've never been in love before, and I love her. And I was like, I looked like a blubbering fool, I'm sure, when in the middle of Corey's. Like, I didn't like sob, but I was like, I'm actually almost tearing up now. You're like, I'm really happy. And I knew those words have never, like, I don't think I've ever even heard Chelsea say, I'm happy about really anything. And I was like, oh my God, I'm happy. I think.
After telling her that I was gay and that I was in a relationship and that I was so happy, and then she cried, I had no idea, one, that she would be so supportive, but let alone that she would be so emotional and happy for me. A couple weeks after going back to school after fall break, that pressure that I had when I needed to tell Jamie definitely came back, and it was a lot stronger because I needed to tell my family. I didn't tell them. I was scared. I almost felt like I was lying. I was hiding this big secret and it felt like a lie. I wasn't lying directly to them, but that's the closest thing I can compare it to of what it felt like. I needed to talk to somebody who would help me get through this coming out process of telling my family. They are very religious, definitely grew up in a church. Because Pekin is very small and there is no LGBT anything in Pekin, those topics never came up with our family, so I had no idea what I was going to do. I got a hold of a family friend that I've known my entire life, grew up with my mom and my uncle. I knew she would be able to help me best approach it, come out, anything to the family.
I was a tomboy, always wanting to go and do, you were a paper kid, you crawled super early and moved super early and climbed on stuff and just always active. And then that just went forward with everything that you were kind of involved in. It was physical, doing, going. You set up an appointment for a phone call, and I was like, holy crap, what's going to happen? And I went outside, and I was so nervous. And then you were like, you didn't actually say I'm gay. You said I'm in a relationship with a girl. And I was like, okay. And you were like, do you have any more reaction than that? I was like, this is like no big surprise. And for me, it was like relief because I've really been struggling for a while. And I was worried about you. So we had talked quite a bit before then. So I thought the worries are going to be gone. And the first thing I said is you need to get into counseling, like right now, because your family is going to really struggle with this. I really thought your mom would struggle a lot with it. You being her only. And, you know, I've had gay family members my whole life. My sister's gay, and I've just gone around in theater to meet a lot of gay people.
After talking to Sarah, I knew that I needed to just make that step. I was tired of hiding all of these feelings. Things with my relationship were going well. I needed to just take that leap and tell her. I knew Mom was going to be a challenge. I was thinking, how am I going to do this? While I know I would have rather just been able to be confident and just, Mom, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is my relationship. I'm happy. That's that. But I'm really good at mentally preparing myself for what I'm going to say. And then the moment I'm faced with that conversation, everything's blank. And I came up with the idea that I should write a letter. After we had planned to go meet Jamie and spend the weekend in Pekin, I was losing so much confidence in myself that I would be able to tell her.
Right. Very clearly. Chelsea and I dated, we were just that couple who was like, you know, if something bad happens, you and I are going to come out of this stronger. You know, we were always positive about whatever outcome happened, it happened. And it really wasn't on us, it was on the people that reacted to it.
I had no idea. I was coming to town, and so we were on the drive to Mom's house, and we started throwing out hypothetical situations. If I tell her, and this happens, what are we going to do? And we were throwing out all these ideas, and I have never been so anxious and scared to go see my mother ever in my life. And that unknown feeling was awful.
You'd come home that weekend. I was already in a really bad mood. Because you weren't supposed to come home that weekend. You actually, memory serves right, lied to me about coming home. And had been in town a day earlier from the day before. Having seen, I get so mad that I had been lied to. I'm not known for having the most tolerant of personalities. And so the three of you come into the house. We're acting so odd. There's just something, just a very strange vibe. We were sitting on the couch, and it was like you all had an inside joke, and I was the one on the outside. And I was like just trying to make conversation about school. It was just so weird.
Disappointed in that moment when your mother probably realized this isn't her friend, this is her girlfriend. And she knew, like she saw right past it. We all knew that. But, you know, that's not really easy telling, you know, your parent, hey, I'm gay, this is my girlfriend at the same time.
We were like, oh crap, I don't think it's gonna go well. We just knew that this was something you and your mom used to butt heads a lot. a lot. So we knew eventually, once you were determined to tell her, that it wasn't going to go that way.
And as the conversation on the couch was going, I had made that decision. I was not going to tell her. I couldn't do it. I was too nervous. I was scared. I couldn't do it. As we were getting ready to leave, Jamie and Alyssa were by the back door, and I was saying goodbye to Mom, and she asked, had I met any guys? I said, yeah. And she was like, are you gonna find a boyfriend? I was like, yeah. And she just looked at me and said, oh my God, you're gay. And I was so caught off guard. I had nothing to respond with. And there was a lot of silence. Jamie and Alyssa were in the other room, had no idea what was going on. And I looked at Mom, I said, if you would like to have this conversation, I will ask them to leave. And she said, please do.
Jamie and I both looked at each other like, oh my God, like this is happening. But sometimes it has to happen that way. Like, you just gotta rip off that Band-Aid, no matter how much it hurts, and you gotta just do it. And I could tell how upset and how, anxious you were. I was like, this isn't what she wants to feel right now. I was your rock. And I was gonna be there no matter what. And again, you and I discussed that before they even happened.
Just so important. It wasn't so much in what was said not to say that. So it wasn't angry when he said had to say, because I wasn't shocked by it. And it's not to say that it wasn't incredibly sad. It had just been a really bad day in that moment. In that moment, everything I had wished for you was gone. So it was selfish. I think I would just be happy that my child was going to be happy. I'd watched you be depressed your entire life, so fine. Here it is. Here's the big reveal, and now my child's going to be happy. I think I would be happy. I was totally on my own.
Went back to school. A couple days had passed. Didn't hear from Mom. I knew the rest of my family was going to find out. All of that hurt and fear quickly turned into anger. I was mad at Mom that how could you not support me and love me because I'm the same person and I'm making steps to being happy. How can you not support me? And what I'm doing is not wrong. I became very, very selfish. I had 20 years to process this and was not thinking about how this was brand new to other people, and that didn't even occur to me. And I posted on Facebook that I was in a relationship. I did not tag Alyssa in it. I'm getting the questions from family and friends. Who are you in a relationship with? In a way, I definitely screwed myself over of I needed to come out soon because people were asking. Grandma was asking. I didn't care how I was doing it. I just, based on Mom's reaction, I didn't feel confident with the family. And I went full force and I was just telling people. I was doing just what I needed to do and I was focused all about me and nobody else.
I've known your family for my whole 50 years of life. They never, to me, as a family, wanted to really talk about issues. Your uncle being really religious and your aunt. But I do like your family, and I thought that they would really, after an initial time period, would come through. I didn't have a lot of concerns that you would be shunned from the house and nobody would ever speak to you again.
This is a very odd thing to be announcing or sharing in a text message. That seems a little more, I don't know. monumental, personal, something that should be done like face to face?
It seemed like it was done in a flippant, distant sort of way. I just remember writing it off as maybe wanting attention, maybe going along with the fad of the time. I just don't remember it being a big monumental thing, probably more the way because of the way it was done.
Definitely wouldn't say I was shocked by any means, or also would be like, yes, this is definitely like, well, you're gay, just because of how you acted or what you said or anything, but there may have been signs leading up to it, that might have led that way. So it wasn't a shock. It was just maybe like, oh, now this can move on.
No, I was not shocked. You played softball. No.
Got a message from my uncle that said, this is how we feel about this situation. And attached was a 45-minute church sermon. And it just preached that it was wrong. Being gay was wrong. I was going to hell.
It just struck me. And it wasn't something I went and looked up and said, oh, I'm going to find this thing. I'm going to play this card on you. It was more something that had come to me because I was listening to a lot of that kind of stuff at the time. It wasn't homosexuality is bad or it wasn't a sinner, you're going to burn in hell type message. There was a thread of hope and acceptance in it, but that is not the way that it played. It was a terrible, terrible thing to do. It was just absolutely out of bounds. No good was going to come from that whatsoever. But at the time, it seemed like the good thing to do is like, hey, I want you to hear something here from God and from the church and from a pretty radical evangelical thinker.
That's supposed to be your family, your support system before you even meet friends and get into relationships, and they are supposed to be the ones that you fall back on. And the fact that they sent you that garbage, just I couldn't believe it. I was in complete awe of that situation.
I look back on that now as probably one of the most regrettable moments of my life, honestly, the way that was handled. Stupid thing to do, really. It was very impersonal and very Christian hatefulness to it that I'm sure came off that way.
That was just a really hard time because not long after that, your mom called me and was so mad, and your aunt called me and was so mad. I don't know if you remember, but you asked me not to tell anybody. Like, I wanted you to go in, and when you told them, you knew who you were, and you were confident and all that kind of thing. And you did not give me a heads up that you had told them. And I assured both of them that if I had felt you were an absolute danger to yourself, that I would have communicated that. And I did talk with them during that time frame, like had they checked in with you, and it was just encouraging love and support.
A couple days before I left for Thanksgiving break, me and the family were in this group chat. We were going to have this family get together, this big giant meeting, and we were going to talk about me being gay. So in the family group chat, my cousin responded with a very long novel of his response, and I had talked to him a couple times, and he was very supportive. He was living in Chicago at the time, and I remember calling him and just begging him to come, and I needed him to be there because I didn't know who I was going to have on my side, and I needed somebody who would be willing to stand up for me and help me through this.
Meeting came up, and there was going to be this, let's sit around the table and talk about it. It seemed more like a intervention than anything. I don't know.
I don't remember why he couldn't, but he told me he wasn't going to be able to make it. He was sorry. I felt very alone. I didn't want to go to the meeting, and so I knew I had to tell Grandma because this big event was happening the very next.
Well, I knew it was important, although Chelsea and I shared lots of things between the two of us. But my immediate thought was, she's pregnant. That's exactly what I thought. That's what ran through my mind. And I thought, okay. But we sat down on the couch. That's where we always had our serious talks. And she says, Grandma, I'm gay. Oh, okay. I personally knew a lot of gay people. And I love them. They were great people. So that didn't bother me. But I think what really bothered me is that she didn't share it with me sooner before. But I think she wanted to tell me in person.
I was crying, and I'm telling her about my relationship. I'm telling her how Mom reacted. I filled her in on the rest of the family, the church sermon. She was very emotional, and she was just very supportive. She loved me, and nothing was ever going to change that. Grandma was my grandma. It didn't matter if I had a 4-word line in high school in a play, or I struck out in softball. She was always there. She was constant support, and she was always proud of me no matter what I
really did think your grandma would be supportive. I guess it's blown me away at how supportive. Like, she's exceeded, I thought her expectations were good, but she's exceeded all expectations.
So we were on our way over, and I was super anxious that I wasn't going to have anyone on my side. Pull up, there is Christopher's car. While I was still very scared, all of that, I felt so much better that I had somebody who was going to, he was my ally. He was going to stand up. He was going to say what he needed to defend me.
It seemed the best thing to do was to get together and just talk about it and just put it out on the table and get uncomfortable.
I remember hearing, maybe the week before, like, oh, we're going to sit down and talk about, the announcement or we're going to have the talk.
I didn't want to participate in the family meeting. I knew it wasn't going to change anything. There was nothing to change.
Chelsea's coming out, and it's hard. That's a hard thing, and nobody's going to do that, especially in our family situation necessarily. And I don't think you were even thinking what sort of like backlash or reaction it would cause at that moment. I'd say there wasn't anything to be gained by other than you needing to live your truth. It'd be interesting to know how that day would have gone had I not been.
Son and daughter-in-law. It was a special trip because I know they came here from Chicago. And they were here to defend you. And there were sides being taken. And so they weren't going to let you go through that meeting with the radical Christians in the family without having some defense.
But I didn't think that there would be, kind of coming from that meeting, I didn't think that it would split, like things would split into the two camps necessarily like it did.
It seemed at the time, especially my older son, was really like there is no right and wrong, and there is no judge. You can't judge anybody for anything. Whatever they do is what they do. And I think I was just exploring, like, well, where's the line? And I remember comparing it pre having grandchildren. I think I compared it to, if you have a daughter and 15 years goes by and me and your daughter start hooking up because we're attracted to each other and this makes us happy. Isn't that past some sort of line for you? I mean, there must be a line somewhere. And you're here telling me there are no lines. And I was trying to demonstrate that there are lines. It's just this line is moving and changing. And so, I don't know, it was all bad. It was a ridiculous way to try to explain it.
If you, another consenting adult, wants to love another consenting adult, then what's to stop me from, wanting to have an incestual relationship with your hypothetical granddaughter, or, sleep with this dog. And when it comes to really, like, if you can't understand the difference there, then I think then it comes to where's the, like, harm, reduction and stuff. And I don't think there's any harm between two consenting adults. That, my dad is not that type of person that would ever do that. And I think he was just trying to use an example, and his ignorance gave him a really poor example to use. But, like, know. I don't even know what to say. It's just.
No, I remember there being much words said back and forth across the table from most people other than the person that was there to talk. You on this end and you on this end, talking about you in the middle. That's not what this is about. And so, why are we here for 3 hours right now?
I was just trying to be absurd, was all. I was trying to find an absurd example of, like, where is your line? Because you must have one. And you're telling me I'm not allowed to have one. There's no line. And I was trying to contrast it with that. As far as, like, it wasn't a good reason for the whole thing. It was, well, whatever makes you happy. And that's what I was trying to liken to.
As far as the whole thing, I've always just viewed it as I don't know, it was just done wrong.
It was just the most bizarre, bad family event that we'd ever had. We were all, and I would say yourself included, were all so ignorant then. Because everyone had, I say everyone, I don't know that I really said anything. Because there was definitely enough people who had their opinions, and everyone is certainly entitled to that. And it was just a bad day that you'd love to erase from our family history. It was just wrong.
There were some people who didn't agree with it. They thought it was wrong. But the majority of us accepted it. And I knew it was so hard for Chelsea to say that. And I knew she was hurt because she left the room in tears. And my heart bled for her.
We're at a debate table and there's people's lives here that are in the balance, and we're all very now going to be emotionally impacted by this. And, it's now we're shooting a documentary about it. We're talking about this thing as a pivotal time, pivotal moment in our family's history that I don't think anybody really knew what was going to happen. Since then, it's been an interesting exercise of sorting through that while also still wanting to love and be around each other and be a family and keep that thing going. I think we've done a pretty good job of that, but that's had some bumps and bruises. Yeah.
That meeting was very hard. It didn't make sense why we were there. And I left that meeting with no confidence that I was going to have a relationship with any of my family members. When I thought depression was in full force, I was wrong. Everything just hit me. I wasn't okay. I wasn't going to class. I started drinking a lot, became very unstable, did not have really any relationship with my mother anymore. My relationship was quickly diminishing and became non-existent. At this point now, my ex lived 4 doors down. She was on the way to the bathroom. There was no way to not run into her. I couldn't go home. I had nowhere that I felt support. I was seeing a counselor in Charleston. I'm sure she is great at her job. I wasn't willing to do the work and actually fight depression.
When you told me you come out and you were going to be a lesbian, it probably at that point didn't shock me. What bothered me more was what I heard about what was going on in college when you first went down to Eastern, and those things really upset me because I didn't know you were going through that. And I never would have let you go through that alone. I would have helped you or done whatever I could have at that point in life. Your grandmother was a very big help, and I understand that. And she has done great things with you and for you. But when other people called you on the carpet, read you the riot act, preached the gospel, I was very upset. That's your choice. It's nobody else's choice. And for anybody to judge you was completely wrong. And that was uncalled for.
2.5 hours away. Just like how our relationship had always been. We would go to our separate corners instead of facing it and working through it. We had real good distances to our separate corners. They're really a horrible solution.
I was trying to figure out if there's something that I did or something I could have done to prevent what you went through. If you were going to go through that anyway, that's the way you are. And I can understand that. But if there's something I could have done to help avoid that part of your life, then I would have done that.
It became easier and easier to avoid having to repair the relationship. It just seemed like the more time that went by, the harder it was becoming to make it better. It was just easier than having to, which is stupid, because what good parent does that? I just let myself become so engrossed in this in my life that it was like, and you certainly made far more effort than I to keep the communication going. And you've always been far better at that than myself, so good of you.
Depression definitely took over everything that I had. In my own head, being gay wasn't the big reveal, the big secret. It was this minor step in what I really needed to do to be able to just be me. There was no part of me that thought I would be able to tell them, I'm trans, I'm Chase, this is me. That only fueled the depression. I started self-harming, started out very minimally, became a part of my daily routine. I was seeing a counselor still in Charleston, and it wasn't helping. Developed this big giant sense of pitying myself. I didn't understand the severity of my mental stability.
Called me and said, you were my daughter, and we were concerned that you were suicidal. All I wanted to do was make sure you were okay. And I was angry at you at that moment too, because you had always promised me that you would never kill yourself, because you always knew how much it affected my father had. But I had to find you, call you, and make sure, because I just kept thinking when they were talking to me that they have to have the wrong person. It just didn't make any sense.
Well, I guess I've heard that she was suicidal, and I was shocked. I was scared, and then I found out that she was cutting herself, and I thought, this is really serious stuff. How painful she must feel. And I just wished I could help more. I didn't know how to help.
Well, that video wasn't a suicide video. Within a couple months, that was all that my mind consumed of, was I needed to just do it. I needed to end it. And that day I made that decision that I was going to end my life. And I looked up the train schedules. There's nothing keeping me going anymore. And I remember sitting on the tracks, and I called my 3 people that they answered I wouldn't go through. And no one answered. As the time is getting closer, at this point I now see the train. And there is no part of me that was gonna step out of the way. And I get a phone call, and it is my counselor. And I answered. It was my sign. That was what I needed to be able to bring me back to reality of, I need to get back in my car now. I got off the tracks, I got back in my car, I watched the train go by, and I went back to my dorm room for one more day. If I could make it till tomorrow, maybe I would be okay. So I knew I wouldn't get any better at Easter. I needed to be done. I needed to move home, get away from drama and all these triggers. They finally came. I graduated. At this point, my mom had moved to Texas, so didn't really have somewhere to go. So I stayed with my aunt and uncle for about a month, and then got a house with my friend Janessa and then another mutual friend. And I knew that that would be a much better living situation where it wasn't with family and I could start working on bettering myself. A couple months after I graduated, I was dog sitting for a family friend and I was FaceTiming a friend. We were having normal conversation. I just needed to tell somebody, this is who I am trans, my name is Chase. Needed to voice that to somebody else. There was a point in the conversation and I just flat out said, hey, I gotta tell you something. We talked about it. She asked what my name was. For the first time ever, just somebody else got to say, my name is Chase. And it was just a freeing moment. And all this pressure was lifted. The rest of that evening, we looked up how to transition. At that point, everything seemed possible, that I could start making this journey, really being true to myself and working on being happy. So after telling that friend, I knew that I needed to tell people. Clearly, I hadn't learned anything from coming out the first time, so why not do it all over again and text everyone? My relationship with my family really wasn't much better. They cared how I was doing it as long as I was doing it, but I just needed to get it out there that this is who I am.
Send me a text. Probably not the best. That was a little different. It's like, come on, what else do I have to, deal with being gay, lesbian? Okay, that works. I'm not putting it on me or, poor me, but it's like how much, we gotta bear.
Everything I know was changing. And again, I know I didn't handle it well. I wish I could. One of those parents that you see on TV that are like, yes, I knew this is what it was, and God, I'm just so happy. And I've always been someone who's been more reluctant to change. It's defaulted me. Basically, telling me my daughter's dead. It was no different in that moment than my child. Say someone told me my child died in a car accident. Because they got my child didn't die in a car accident. It's not wrong with it. And instead of enjoying, reveling in the joy of that, I chose the other route.
It was the first time I've ever heard you refer to it as your son.
Whew. I thought it might have been a phase. It was kind of rushed, but I don't know what you were going through, what your mindset was, and if that's the way it was going to be for the rest of your life, then you just needed to proceed and do what you needed to do. There was nothing I was going to say or anybody else was going to change your mind. You didn't come with a manual.
When Chelsea came out to tell me that he was trans, I was shocked because I think of things I did when she was young, forcing all the girly toys. I built her a dollhouse. I had to put that in. And I think she accepted it so gracefully, but I knew it hurt. I told myself, I'm going to have to find more about this, so I started reading and educated myself.
I think I was supportive of her, but I didn't really have to be, She made the decision early on that it was what it was, and that there was nothing to be ashamed of or hide, and she would openly discuss it. As she found out when she did that, the people then were interested and listened, that she would just treat it like it just was what it was, which I think was really a plus for her, for you, and probably for everybody.
I knew this process was not going to be easy with coming out again, and I knew I needed to get back into counseling. And so I made a call, scheduled an appointment. Even in that first session with this counselor, there was this amazing connection and felt very confident in my choice. Where I had done counseling in the past, I didn't put any effort in. I really didn't work through anything. This counselor challenged me on everything, called me out on things, wouldn't let me get away with just rambling for 45 minutes. Actually had me process these events in my family, my relationships, 100% what I needed. I actually began putting in the work and the effort to fight depression and work on being happy and true to myself. And I don't think I would have been able to do any of that had it not been for Lori.
After seeing Chase, had just graduated from college, sounded like there was a fair bit of chaos in life. Also dealing with, I think, some anxiety and depression. Just kind of knew what the path was, but wasn't quite sure how to get there. Some insecurity in terms of who would be there to help, to support, to love, to just be a part of life. I think it took us a while, but, we got there. He got there.
You texted me and you said, I have something to tell you. I made you tell me. I was like, I can't call you right now, but please tell me what's going on. And you're like, I don't feel comfortable with my body, if that makes sense. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, but you've never been comfortable with your body, so what are you getting at? He said, I feel that I am a man. I remember looking at my phone and I'm like, we never talked about gender roles, if you will. It was a shock to me though. I was like, I can see this. And then it's well crap. What's your name now? You can't be Chelsea and be a boy. What's your name? I think you texted me that. You said, I want to go by Chase. Because you had explained to me, you're like, this is what I want to do. And I was naive to this whole.
When it all, if I'm being completely honest, when I found out, my initial thoughts were, okay, is she sure? Is she really sure? Because this is serious. It makes sense that Chelsea went from Chelsea to gay. Okay, this isn't working either. So let me, can see how the linear path kind of, went down.
This explains a lot more. This makes much more sense than Chelsea being a lesbian. You didn't seem home there, right? It didn't seem oh, okay. Chelsea's found her way. She's found her thing, and also maybe because that was part of the reaction inside the family to
you saying you were a lesbian was almost the easy thing, as opposed to what came later, And not to say that was easy, but it was in hindsight, okay, I have a nephew and his name is Chase. So stupid time hop on Facebook, hey, look at this when we were two girls and we took this road trip, it's do I remember that or don't I, so I just keep that memory, The longer it is, I feel the more those pictures help to process it.
Well, it's funny because we set up the big appointment for your coming out as gay, and then you just called one day, and we were chatting about other stuff. Maybe you were nervous to tell me. I don't know, but once again, I was sitting outside and we were talking, and you're like, by the way, I decided, I'm trans. That's what I've really been struggling with. I think I'm going to be better. And then you moved on. And I was like, wait, we got to come back to this.
She told me that she needed to talk to me. And so I was kind of concerned what could be wrong. I knew that there had been some issues. She was having some difficulties in the past and such. And since we had moved in, difficulties with depression and such. So I thought it was something related to that. So I remember getting home and Chelsea had our friend there, another mutual friend. When she first told me, we're jokesters. So I was like, is this her way of trying to joke with me or get me And so when I realized that Chelsea was sincere and, wanting to share with me that she wanted to transition to being a guy, I guess I was thrown off. You hear stories about that, but I've never known anybody to transition.
I had been doing very well in counseling with Lori, putting in a lot of effort, making changes, setting goals. In a lot of sessions, her and I processed starting hormones, felt that I was at a very good place to begin medically transitioning. Did research. Closest endocrinologist I could find was in the Chicago area. Called, set an appointment. Grandma at this point is still my biggest supporter. And her and I drove up to Chicago, and on October 23rd, 2014, I had my first shot. That pressure was gone, and I felt, this is it. This is where it starts, and I'm going to start seeing all these changes and actually get to embrace who I'm meant to be. And it was just a really cool feeling knowing I'm doing this and I'm making big steps into my journey of being happy.
Message me, hey, I finally got my testosterone. Like, I finally picked it up from the pharmacy and I can start tonight or this week or whatever it was. And I get to start. And do you want to do my shots? Well, cool. Okay. I'm in nursing school. I got this, right? I give shots all the time. I felt kind of cool that I could give him a shot. It was weird to like stab my friend with a needle, but I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
Like, I remember when he first started growing facial hair, like how big of a deal that was, you know, like the first like stubble, you know, it was just like, this is it. It's working, you know. I got to share in a lot of the excitement of that experience for him and feeling like he was finally becoming the person he always wanted to be. And so that was an eye-opening experience to me too. I could definitely see like, you know, maybe some fluctuations in moods and just maybe still struggling in some regards, but also like I felt like he was working towards something that, you know, his goal and maybe finding his path.
We went to the courthouse to have your name changed because that was important to you. And if something is important to you, I try to make sure that I can be there for you. It doesn't matter what you're called. You're still my kid, no matter how it is.
Couple months after starting hormones, I really noticed that I was very angry. The littlest things would set me off. Depression started making its way back into my life. Self-harm became part of my regular routine again. Suicidal thoughts slowly crept back in and then became a lot stronger. Wasn't going to counseling as much. I went back to those selfish ways and didn't communicate that I wasn't okay. At this point, I had been prescribed Xanax by a doctor. I started taking more than I should. There was this sense of loss of reality. I was in my own world. It was an escape. I began looking forward to those escapes. Slowly started taking a little bit more than I should. And I wasn't aware of the damage that I was doing to myself and others. And each time I would take one more and started repeating that pattern until it became quite a problem.
Chase had been acting, again, depressed and just kind of fluctuating in behavior. Chase is not a good liar. I would ask him questions and felt like I wasn't getting the right responses or just like facial expressions. I was like, something's different. And I think I knew that he had gotten medication recently.
I know Janessa was out of town and I had taken too many pills already. And I remember just like one thing kept repeating that. And in that moment I told myself, well, I'm just going to keep taking more and more. A lot of that day is a blur. And because of the amount of medication that I took, I don't remember much. Somehow a mutual friend of Janessa and I's was called. Had she not been there, I don't know how much I would have taken after that. I remember the next day hearing how I acted. So embarrassed. At that point, I knew Janessa knew, and she was not happy.
Give me your medication or something else. I'm going to take the medication. Like, I'm going to find it. Like, you can't stop me. Like, you have to give me those pills. And if you want to take them as prescribed, I will give them to you. But if you plan on not taking them as prescribed, we're going to have issues. I wouldn't want anybody to go down that path, but especially, you know, somebody I love and care about. So, Chase did eventually give me the medication. I kept it in the lockbox that I had. He may have taken like one after that, but I don't even think he took anything beyond that. So it was like kind of like a cry for help to me, you know, like I'm ready to end this, or I just want to numb the pain and such. I was nervous that maybe he might try to like look in my room for, you know, the medicine and such. Again, that's why I hid it, you know, in a pretty secure spot and then hid the key to where I hid it.
So I wanted to make a video. Pre-testosterone. So I'm officially 1 month on T.
So this is my 2-month update. So this is my 3-month video.
So this is my 4 months on testosterone. So this is my 5-month update on testosterone. Oh, I am officially 6 months on testosterone. I'm officially 7 months on T. Officially 8 months on testosterone. I am officially 9 months on testosterone. I am 11 months on testosterone. I am officially 1 year on testosterone. After that conversation with Janessa, I knew I needed to get my act together, need more appointments with Lori. I really started focusing on myself, really putting in all this effort to process all of these things in my family and what I've gone through, worked hard on eliminating self-harm out of my life, started setting goals, and I kept thinking that I meant to do something. I meant to make it different. I have so much to offer this world. And began the conversation with Lori of what am I going to do with my life? With a lot of support from Lori, my friends and family, I wanted to be a counselor. And I just remember thinking, I want to be somebody's Lori. I want to make a difference. I want to help someone going through these same struggles and pull them out of that funk. I firmly believe had it not been for Lori, for pushing me to actually work through all these issues, I don't think I would be here today. And I just remember thinking, I want to be somebody's Lori. I want to make a difference. I want to help someone going through these same struggles and pull them out of that funk and work with them to see their real potential and what they can do in this world. There, I made the decision that I was going to apply to graduate school, which seemed really weird because I didn't want to go to college in the first place. I barely survived undergrad and passed. How am I going to be a graduate student? I felt very confident that this is what I was meant to do. I was going to do anything to make that happen. A couple weeks after I applied, had my interview, got an email that I had been accepted into the counselor education program at Western Illinois University in the Quad Cities. Very excited, and then packed everything up and moved to the Quad Cities. Was ready to start this new chapter.
Our counseling relationship kind of came to an end. But always been in contact because we was going through the transition at that time, and I just felt some responsibility to be. So I just wanted to make sure that there was an avenue, should it be needed, for some support.
I am Holly Nichols. I'm the chair of the Counselor Education Department at Western Illinois University. We are a KCREP accredited program, and we are accredited in both clinical mental health counseling and school counseling. To my knowledge, we have not had a transgender student in the program.
However, I do distinctly remember the interview, and I don't always distinctly remember, master's interviews. And so I think when one is as memorable as yours, you have to ask yourself, why is that? And I think one of the things that stands out from that interview process, Chase, is that you were super transparent about the process and where you were at. And, here's who I am. Here's why I want to become a counselor. Here's how these things have impacted me and how I think I can impact change or affect change. Before I met you, my experience with the trans population was limited. This was my first opportunity to work with someone as unique as you.
I do think if it were not for you, I don't know that I would have recognized kind of how important that is and how specific that is, and how we as a department who train mental health professionals, both in the schools and in the clinical mental health, we have got to be attending to that a lot more than we ever have in the past. And to make changes in systems, schools in particular, we think about kids who are transitioning or coming to figure out who they are. Schools have got to be a safe place for them, and they're often not.
And so you had enrolled, and your name was still Chelsea in the system. And I knew you as Chase. To me, you were Chase, and that's how I wanted you to be able to introduce yourself to people. It was my responsibility to make sure that process for you was easier. Becoming a graduate student for the first time is difficult, and to be able to choose how you identified yourself. And that was something that you chose to disclose in the class. The more you were comfortable with people, and it ended up being so. But not in the first class. That wasn't the way that it should have been.
I hope we can be an agent for change in the area. But I do think that started with you kind of opening my eyes to, gosh, we can't even change his name. We can't even change his name on the computer. that should be easy. And it wasn't, so.
I was in a much better place. I was working hard in grad school, felt that the next step to this journey was top surgery. And I was tired of binding. I was tired of wearing spandex and being hot and uncomfortable over the summer. Really felt that that was something I needed. Started researching surgeons in Central Illinois, and there was one surgeon. Made an appointment for a consultation. Didn't feel very confident about this surgeon, but I really didn't have any other options. He had done this procedure before and took that leap of faith. We had talked about where he was going to do scars, the procedure, everything. Felt a little bit more confident, and then I remember waking up from the surgery and asking how everything went, and I remember one of the nurses saying, oh, well, he didn't have to do scars. And I remember thinking, it wasn't very chesty, but I knew I was too big to have the procedure without scars. But my surgeon assured me that everything would be fine and it would look great, and I was gonna hate the scars anyway. After a couple weeks and the bandages came off, noticed that he took the drains out too soon, so everything filled up with fluid and it looked like I had boobs again. He put the drains back in, and after he removed the drains for the second time, noticed that my chest wasn't getting tighter. Towards the end of the summer, it looked like I had old lady boobs, where I had spent all this money and finally ready to have the body I always wanted. I was more self-conscious. I didn't want to take my shirt off. I hated the way it looked. I didn't feel confident at all. So I called my surgeon, told him I wasn't happy and we needed to fix this. He told me that I wouldn't like the scars, all this, and I told him, it's not your body, it's mine. I don't care about the scars. I just want a flat chest. He offered to do it again for free, but I had to pay to be put under. So I paid him another $2,000. And I didn't feel confident about going back to this guy. And I knew if I went to somebody else that I would have to pay the entire fee all over again. So I took yet another chance with this surgeon. Picked up and everything was perfect. I had the chest I wanted. Everything was great and it was tight and it looked great. And after a couple weeks started smelling this odor. Slowly started to realize that this smell was coming from my chest. I think it took 30 seconds. Yep, your nipple's infected. And I had no idea what that meant or what was going to happen next. Then he told me we were going to have to cut the nipple out. All the smell came out, the fluid, it was disgusting. The smell was gone. And now I had a quarter-size hole in my chest. What else could go wrong with this guy? He convinced me that, oh, it's gonna close up, and I was very self-conscious.
When Chase decided to have top surgery, I thought, boy, that's really drastic. But I knew he wanted it, so I supported it, and I went with him to the surgeon. Unfortunately, we didn't go to the best surgeon.
I didn't care for your surgeon. I think he was very good at what he was supposed to do. His bedside manner wasn't very good, and when you did have issues and you had to go back, I didn't really agree with his treatments and how he wanted to do things.
Nothing is going right. My transition was very much a struggle. The surgeon was awful. I didn't think that I would actually be able to love my body and be confident in who I was. The further I got in grad school, the more I had developed a counseling theory, and I was using that with clients, and then began using my theory on my own life and process all these things that I've gone through. As part of the chest I just wanted, came up with the idea that I'm gonna turn this negative event into something positive. Thought, I'm gonna put a band-aid over my nipple. And I talked to my tattoo artist, and she tattooed a band-aid over this nipple scar. While putting a band-aid over it didn't change anything. It gave me just enough confidence that I began to love my chest. I'm unique. Not many people have only one nipple, and I do, and I have a band-aid tattoo, and it's funny, and I'm able to cope with so much more, and just using that counseling theory, processed all these events in my life. I began thinking about my process and my journey and realizing all the things that I did wrong. I never should have bombarded my mom with my girlfriend and pushed that on her. I should have had face-to-face conversations with family members about my coming out. I should have been more open and learned how to communicate and not hide behind my phone and text people. And then I began thinking of the family events, the family meeting, and all these horrible things that have happened. I became very grateful for it. It wasn't an easy process, but I'm working with LGBT youth now, and I can relate to them. And had my journey been smooth and happy and perfect, I wouldn't be able to relate to these kids. And now I can. I never thought I would have a good relationship with my uncle, and it took time, but we had finally a real conversation about everything, and now we have the best relationship we've ever had, and we talk weekly and regularly. Phenomenal relationship with my mom. Talked everything out, have a better understanding of everything. My grandma's still one of my biggest supporters. My dad has been awesome through this entire journey and has been there for everything along the way. It took a lot of time, but I put in all this effort into processing things and making my amends. It's crazy to think that there were so many times that I was ready to give up, and then to think how far I've made if I just put in that effort. I could just make it one more day, maybe things will get better, things will get easier. And I kept repeating that and taking one day at a time. I am so grateful for my journey, and it wasn't easy, but I made it. For the first time in my life, I can finally say I'm happy. And it's just an incredible feeling to make it this far.
You are the happiest I've ever seen you your whole entire life.
Yeah, you have a beard, a different, deeper voice, but definitely a little bit more goal-oriented, at least, just looking at what you're doing in the last 5 years.
You're doing big things, i.e. this documentary. You're getting your master's, you have your own house, you're doing all of these things to advocate for who you are in hopes that other people, maybe with a similar story, a different story, can continue on in their lives and have a better outlook on what's to come next for them.
You are obviously who you need to be and who you were born to be.
And I've observed you becoming much more engrossed in what you do, much more able to concentrate, much happier. And I think the transition for you has been nothing but a plus.
Took that as seriously as you've taken putting this documentary together. This is how you were getting to your truth and putting out your happiness and becoming actually yourself.
Chelsea was my main person. When it came out as Chase, I didn't know how to handle anything. Seeing Chase where he is now, I am so happy that he is who he is. I wouldn't change anything with Chelsea, with our whole ups and downs, talking to you through your depression or any suicidal thoughts that you had at any point in time. Chelsea was special. But Chase is probably more special now. That I can see a development from someone from hardship and not knowing who she was to this person that's doing great and has smiles, and you can tell that his eyes that he's full of life now. This is who he was supposed to be for so long.
Is that you're standing up for yourself, you're confident, you're advocating for your needs, and then as you do that, you're learning how to help others to do the same thing.
Well, you're definitely happier. Once everything come out, this is who you are. I've never seen you happier. I love talking with you. You're energetic. You have goals. And you want to do a lot of things in life. And being held back from the way you were, I don't think that ever could have come to, fruition.
Yeah. Chelsea at 16. And look at Chase today. The smile on your face, the happiness. I know it's so big for her. I'm sorry.
But it's just nice to see you happy. It's nice for everybody to be happy. And it doesn't have to be 100% every day. You have your bad days. It's okay to have bad days.
It's been a pleasure to have you in the program. It has. And I have learned a lot as a faculty member working with you and hearing you speak and really putting yourself out there to educate other people about your process and what it's like to be transgendered and how that's impacted you and geographically where you came from and how that impacted the challenges that you have had to face as a result of that. I've really been humbled by the fact that you are able to have these transparent conversations with us about what your process was like, and you went through some really difficult times too. And while I might have advocated for your name change, you were advocating for different things during that time with regarding the surgeries that you were having to go through, and just some big things that you were dealing with your family. And so it's been a pleasure to watch you learn and grow in this program and kind of change and evolve into a counseling professional that I know you'll be as you leave here and graduate.
Just how proud I am of you that you have come a very long way, and you deserve all the happiness in the world. I told you that since probably the moment I met you.
Aww.
You got it going on.
You right.
I can't believe it. Yes, I can.
Some of your outfits still borderline on your feminine side. I'm sure you're very stylish, very hip. You deal with so much. If you're gonna be the part, be the part. Stylish is one thing.
Well, now we're getting into stereotypes.
Yes, we are. I don't expect you to carry an axe and be a lumberjack.
But I know how to use a drill.
Just not a chainsaw.
Never give up. Always keep trying. Be true to yourself. Embrace your individuality. Be unique. Be weird. Be true to yourself and make a difference in this world. Strive to be the best version of yourself. Always keep trying. Always love yourself. Take care of yourself. Never be afraid to ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. And while things in life may not go your way and they seem like this is never going to end and things can't get better, take it one day at a time and realize that you are worth it and you can be that difference in this world and that change that maybe is going to help somebody else down the road.
This is who we are, and we're always going to fight for our community, and we're always going to be this way, and that's it.
We feel we've been able to educate ourselves, and when you do that, it opens your mind.
The overall message, respect, and about connection, and about listening more than talking, and being supportive.
If life is too short to be anything but happy.
I
am gonna not get choked up.
I think if you feel lost, then you need to come to someone and open up. Chase's journey is a great experience for it. Determination and just not feeling like you're alone.
Yeah. Do what makes you happy, and you do you, and be who you are and who you want to be. And if that's not enough for some people, then they're not supposed to be there.
The world needs as much love in it as it possibly can, and nobody should be denied love.
It may be rough, but again, you just gotta be true to yourself, because at the end of the day, if you can look yourself in the mirror and look yourself in the eye, like that's, something I strived for, and that is something that I've learned in life, that no matter what, as long as you can go home and look yourself in the eye, that's what you need to be able to do.
You have a transgender person in your family. Think of the pain they're going through and not the pain that you're going through. Because if you research it and educate yourself, you will be happy and understand.
Oftentimes, we live our lives in chains, and we never know that we have the key. And I think that really accurately depicts Chase's experience. That he was kind of chained by these desires that he couldn't carry out, and but then once he realized he could, it was really his decision, and that's what he wanted to do. He came to that realization.
In the words of Mother Teresa, give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough, but give your best in it.
It's who you truly are. The people that don't matter do fade away, and people that do matter stick around and come along, and that becomes your family.
lies before us and what lies behind us are tiny matters compared to what lies behind us.
Because it doesn't have to be a huge tribe. It doesn't have to be 1 million people. You can have that circle that will be there, on the down days as well as the good days. You'll be okay.
So I would say what I've said to you before, and that is, I loved you then, I love you now, and I love you always.
That works. Thank you.
It's really important to be you, be who you are, be authentic, be congruent who you want to be, because eventually that's what's going to happen in the long run. And eventually that's what's going to come through, hopefully. To be the best you have to, again, be true to who you are, and you've done that.
The positive aspect is you've never been happier. You're doing great things.
I love you.
And I have 3 cameras on me, so you're gonna be like, she cried, look at it. But Chris is an ugly crier.
So I'm a really handsy person, so I'm like, yeah. Do what makes you happy. You do you, boo.
I had no idea how my family was. I love you.
I wasn't gonna cry.
Yeah, right.
It's Chase, not Chelsea. And I was like, okay. And I didn't see you like on a daily basis at that point.
Boom. Anything else you want while the camera's on?
Do something.
Yep. Dribble right down and then say, oh, he was crying earlier. That's all.
Please don't.
Longer table. No fences. All right.